March 9th, 1974. A Japanese soldier walks out of the jungle. His uniform is torn. His rifle still loaded. He's been fighting World War II for 29 years. But here's what haunts me about this story. He didn't know the war was over. He knew the war was over. He just didn't believe it. This is the story of Lieutenant Hiroo Onoda, a man who fought an entire war, alone. 1944. World War II is ending, and Japan is losing. The Pacific Islands are falling one by one. Every day another outpost goes silent. Every week another defeat. The Japanese Imperial Command knows what's coming. They just won't say it out loud. So they send out one final wave of soldiers. Not to win, but to delay the inevitable. And among them is a young intelligence officer. Smart, disciplined, loyal. His name is Hiroo Onoda. He will be sent to a remote island in the Philippines. His orders are simple: survive, sabotage, never surrender. He will follow those orders perfectly. Born March 19th, 1922. Wakayama, Japan. Onoda wasn't born a soldier. He was born into a merchant family. A normal kid. In a country preparing for war. At 17, he's drafted. At 20, he's selected for something special. The Nakano School, Japan's intelligence academy, where they don't teach you to fight. They teach you to disappear. This isn't regular army training. This is asymmetric warfare. Sabotage. Espionage. Endurance. They're teaching him to survive behind enemy lines. Alone. For as long as it takes. And there's one lesson drilled into every student. Never surrender. Not to the enemy, not to hunger, not to time itself. December 1944. Onoda graduates. He's 22 years old, and is about to receive the order that will define his entire life. You are being sent to Lubang Island, Lieutenant. Your mission: guerrilla warfare. Destroy the airstrip. Sabotage the harbor. Make the enemy pay for every inch. And then his commanding officer says something else, something that will echo in Onoda's mind for 3 decades. It may take 3 years. It may take 5. But whatever happens, we will come for you. Onoda salutes. He believes every word. December 26th, 1944. Lubang Island, Philippines. Onoda arrives by submarine under cover of darkness. The island is small, only 20 miles across. Dense jungle, steep mountains, a few villages scattered along the coast. It's supposed to be a strategic position, but by the time Onoda arrives, It's already being abandoned. The commanding officer on the island looks at him like he's insane. "We're evacuating, Lieutenant. The Americans are coming." But Onoda has his orders. He stays, along with a small group of soldiers. Within weeks, the Americans land. The battle is swift, brutal, one-sided. Most of the Japanese garrison is killed or captured. Onoda and 3 other soldiers escape into the jungle. Their names: Corporal Shimada, Private Kozuka, Private Akatsu. 4 men against an entire island. The war, they believe, has just begun. Imagine this. You're 22 years old. You're hiding in a jungle. Every sound could be the enemy. Every shadow could be death. You have a rifle, a few dozen bullets, and your orders. Days turn to weeks. Weeks turn to months. February 1945. Leaflets fall from the sky. The war is over. Japan has surrendered. Come out safely. Onoda reads them. He studies them carefully. And then he burns them. Enemy propaganda, he tells the others. They're trying to trick us into surrendering. And here's the thing. He's not entirely wrong. During the war, fake surrender leaflets were used as psychological tactics. So Onoda's skepticism? It makes sense. It's logical. It's also the beginning of his isolation from reality. The 4 men develop a routine. They hide during the day. They move at night. They steal food from farms, raid storage huts. They're not trying to win anymore. They're trying to survive. And, in Onoda's mind, they're still at war. Still fighting, still waiting for Japan to return. Months become years. 1946, 1947, 1948. The island starts to change around them. Filipinos return to their farms. The Americans leave. Life goes back to normal. But in the jungle, time stands still. The 4 soldiers live like ghosts, invisible, forgotten, haunting an island that's moved on without them. September 1949. Private Akatsu can't take it anymore. 4 years in the jungle. 4 years of hunger, fear, paranoia. He tells the others he's going to surrender. Onoda tries to stop him. This is desertion. You'll be executed. But Akatsu doesn't care. He walks out of the jungle. He surrenders to Filipino. Let me paint you a picture of what this life actually looked like. They sleep in caves, in trees. Never the same place twice. They eat coconuts, wild bananas, stolen rice. Sometimes they kill a cow from a nearby farm. They ration bullets like gold. Every few months they repair their uniforms with bark and mud. Their rifles rust. They clean them with leaves. They have no medicine. When Kozuka gets malaria, they treat it with jungle herbs. Somehow, he survives. They age. Onoda turns 30, then 40, then 50. His hair grays, his body weakens. But his mind is still frozen in 1944. October 19th, 1972. Kozuka is killed in a firefight with local authorities. After 28 years, Onoda is alone. Completely alone. The last soldier of a war that ended before most people on the island were born. He's 50 years old. He's been in the jungle for more than half his life. And he keeps fighting. Because he has orders. Because he made a promise. Because stopping would mean admitting it was all for nothing. Now, let's jump to the outside world. Because while Onoda is fighting his ghost war, the legend spreads. The Japanese soldier who never surrendered. It becomes a story, a myth. Some people think he's dead. Others think he's insane. But one person believes he's still out there. His name is Norio Suzuki. He's 24 years old, a college dropout, an adventurer. And he has a bucket list. Find a panda. Find the abominable snowman. Find Lieutenant Onoda. In that order. He's already found the panda. Now he's going to Lubang Island. February 1974. Suzuki arrives on Lubang with a backpack and a camera. No weapons. No backup. Onoda walks out of the jungle. The sunlight blinds him. Cameras flash. Reporters shout questions. He's confused. Overwhelmed. He thought he'd be returning to a hero's welcome. Instead, he's a relic. A ghost from a forgotten time. The Japan he knew doesn't exist anymore. The emperor he fought for has renounced divinity. The country he defended has become a pacifist democracy. Everything he believed in is gone. Imagine that moment. You sacrifice 30 years of your life for a cause, for a country, for orders. And then you find out the world moved on without you. The Philippine government pardons him. President Marcos personally forgives him for the deaths he caused. 30 Filipinos killed over the years. Farmers. Police. Onoda returns to Japan. He's famous. Newspapers. TV interviews. But he doesn't fit in. Japan has changed too much. It's peaceful. Prosperous. Modern. And Onoda is a warrior with no war. He feels lost. More lost than he ever felt in the jungle. Because in the jungle, he had a purpose. Out here, he's just a man who wasted his life. 1975. Onoda moves to Brazil. He buys a ranch, raises cattle, marries, builds a quiet life. Away from the cameras, away from the questions. He doesn't talk much about the jungle. What is there to say? But years later, he starts a nature school for kids, teaching survival, discipline, resilience. Maybe trying to give meaning to what he learned. Maybe trying to save the next generation from his fate. He returns to Lubang Island in 1996, 2 years after his surrender. He donates $10,000 to the local school. He meets with the families of people he killed. He apologizes. Some forgive him. Some don't. Hiroo Onoda dies on January 16, 2014. He's 91 years old. One of the last soldiers of World War II. A man who spent 30 years fighting a war that was already over. So what do we do with this story? Some people call Onoda a hero, a symbol of loyalty, discipline, dedication. Others call him a cautionary tale, a man brainwashed by duty, blinded by obedience. But I think the truth is more complicated. Onoda was a soldier who followed orders, who believed in something bigger than himself, and who paid the price for that belief. 30 years, 10,950 days, alone in a jungle, fighting an enemy that didn't exist, for a country that forgot about him. There's something deeply human in that. The refusal to admit you were wrong. The need to believe your suffering meant something. The fear that if you stop fighting, everything you've endured was for nothing. We all have our jungles, our wars we can't let go of, our orders we keep following long after they stop making sense. Maybe Hiroo Onoda's story isn't about World War II at all. Maybe it's about what happens when we hold on too long. When loyalty becomes prison. March 9th, 1974. A soldier walks out of the jungle. The war is finally over. But the question remains, was he the last soldier to surrender? Or the first man to realize some wars never really end? You know what's haunting about Onoda's story? It's not just about one man in a jungle. It's a mirror, and if we're honest, we see ourselves in it. Think about the beliefs you hold right now, the things you're absolutely certain about. Your politics, your career path, your identity. Now imagine someone telling you tomorrow that you've been wrong for years. Would you believe them? Or would you call it propaganda? Onoda saw newspapers, photographs, heard voices of loved ones, and he still couldn't accept the truth. Not because he was stupid, but because accepting it would destroy everything he'd built his life around. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the pain of holding two contradictory truths at once. And our brains will do anything to avoid that pain, even if it means living in a jungle for 30 years, even if it means fighting a war that doesn't exist. Here's what breaks my heart about Onoda's story. He wasn't a villain. He was a good soldier, maybe too good. He did exactly what he was trained to do: follow orders, never question, never surrender. And that obedience cost him everything. 3 decades, his youth, his friends, his life. All for orders that were obsolete the moment they were given. There's a Japanese concept called gaman. It means enduring the unbearable with patience and dignity. It's seen as a virtue. Onoda had gaman. But sometimes, endurance becomes suffering, and suffering becomes pointless. The bravest thing isn't always holding on. Sometimes it's letting go. When Onoda finally returned to civilization, a reporter asked him, Do you regret those 30 years? He paused for a long time. Then he said, I followed my orders. I did my duty. I have no regrets. But his eyes told a different story. In his later years, Onoda rarely spoke about the jungle. He didn't write a memoir glorifying his survival. He didn't become a nationalist symbol. Instead,